Got here, Byron. Is everyone in chambers?
Yes, sir. Don't that way.
Okay, it's 6:01. Let's call the meeting to order. Today's Wednesday, October 26th at 6:01 p.m. And we call to order the regular board meeting of the Roseman Community Services District Board of Directors. Can I have a roll call, please?
President Rick Webb.
Yes, here.
Vice President Byron Glennon.
Here.
Director Ben Stewart.
Here.
Director Alfred Wallace.
Here.
Director Greg Wood.
Here.
We do have a quorum, 5-0.
The record show we have 5-0 there. Could we have the record going lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Those on the call, just listen. I think that you'll be off tune with us. Let's begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Thank you, Director Glennon. Steve, before we approve the motion, the GM had one item that came in late that he needed to add to the agenda. Steve, would you go ahead, please?
Yes, we have an item that came to our attention after the posting of the agenda. It's necessary that the board take action on this document because it involves many different agencies and they're needing to move forward with the item. If we do add this, it will be added as new business 1 or NB1.
Okay, so it'll be new business number 1, Steve?
Yes, and it'll be to address the mutual response agreement for the Antelope Valley Agency.
Okay, with that information received from the general manager, may I get a motion to approve the agenda with the new item added for this evening, please?
So moved, Byron.
We got a motion by Vice President Glennon. May I get a second?
Second, Director Wood.
Okay, we have a motion by Vice President Glennon. We have a second by Director Wood to add for the agenda plus the one item that the general manager just added as the new business number 1. May I get a roll call vote, please?
President Rick Webb.
Yes.
Vice President Byron Glennon.
Yes.
Director Ben Stewart.
Yes.
Director Alfred Wallace.
Yes.
Director Greg Wood.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Well, the record showed that was a 5-0 approval. We'll go down to public comments. At this time, any person may address the board on any subject of logistics jurisdiction which is not on the agenda. However, any non-agenda matter will be referred to staff for report and or action at a subsequent board meeting, and no action can be taken on any such item discussed unless the action has been authorized under 54954.2 Board of the Government Code. Any person may also address the board on any agenda matter at the time the matter is discussed prior to board consideration or action. Speakers are requested to limit their time to 5 minutes. It is now 6:04 p.m. and open the public comment section.
As a member of the public, my name is Byron Glennon. I want to make this comment. Directors of Rcsd must have a civic responsibility to plan for the future needs of Roseman. Rcsd is charged with providing water and sewer in the community of Roseman, investing in the training and education of our employees and supervisors is money well spent. Education will result in taking wise, acceptable risks when opportunities arise. Education and training will help our employees to meet challenges with adaptability. And I think we have an excellent supervisor staff and employee staff.
Thank you, Director Glennon.
And we need to give them every opportunity we can to improve their abilities.
Good words are spoken. Thank you very much, sir. Is there any other public comments there? It's now 6:05. I close public comments. And we go down to voluntary public phone call via teleconference. Any member of the public on teleconference who wishes to identify themselves as present in this meeting for the minutes and the record may do so. When we open it up, it's 6:06, and we open up the voluntary public roll call.
Hi, my name is Tian.
Go ahead, sir. Someone got stepped on. Go ahead. The first person, go ahead.
Yes, my name is Tien. I am with Kennedy Jenks.
Good evening, sir. How are you?
Very good, sir.
Is there anyone else out with, at this time for the public comments to be identified?
Ryan Becker with the Wastewater Treatment Reclamation Plant.
Good evening, Ryan. And my compliments to both of you. Things are coming along good at the plant. Thank you guys both. Is there anyone else out there that needs to be recognized before we continue with the agenda? It's now 6:07. We close the public voluntary roll call. We go down to the consent calendar. May I get a motion to approve CC1, that's approval of the check voucher register from 10/4/2022 to 10/17/2022, and the payroll direct deposit dated 10/12/2022, and payroll checks dated 10/12/2022. Could I get a motion to approve CC number 1?
So moved, Byron.
We have a motion by Vice President Gunner. May I get a second?
Second, Dr. Stewart.
Okay, so we have a motion by Vice President Gunner. We have a second by Director Stewart. Can I have a roll call, please?
President Rick Webb,
Yes.
Vice President Byron Glennon,
Yes.
Director Ben Stewart,
Yes.
Director Alfred Wallace,
Yes.
Director Greg Wood.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Let's show that motion is a 5-0 approval. Let's move down to minutes. And we'll take these, we'll vote on these jointly. We have MA1 is to approve the October 12th, 2022 regular board meetings. And M2 is to approve the October 13th, 2022 special board meetings. Could I get a motion to approve both of those?
So moved, Byron.
We have a motion by Vice President Gunner. May I get a second?
Second, Dr. Stewart.
So second by Director Stewart. Motion by Vice President Gunner. Second by Director Stewart for approval of M1 and M2 of the minutes. May I get a roll call vote, please?
President Rick Webb,
Yes.
Vice President Byron Glennon,
Yes.
Director Ben Stewart,
Yes.
Director Alfred Wallace,
Yes.
Director Greg Wood.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
So there was a 5-0 approval. Let's move down to new business. And I will turn it, I'll pass this over to the General Manager. That's what we added to the agenda. Steve, will you give the official title for it? And will you please present it to the board?
Yes, what I'm presenting to the board is approval of the mutual response agreement for Antelope Valley agencies. This came to my attention after we posted the agenda, and it's a very important document for the entire Antelope Valley in regard to mutual response at the time of an emergency or a disaster. It's a sharing of personnel, equipment, whatever's necessary, whatever an entity needs, and it's the agreement that puts the protocols in place, the legalities in place to do so, and how to do it. The important thing is in response to the disaster, the standard emergency management system, or SIMS, would be implemented, or the National Incident Management System, which is the NIMS. And so the protocols that are put in place, the indemnification, the reimbursement of time and equipment to personnel, all that's included in this agreement. And we're asking that the board would consider in approving us becoming signatory to the agreement.
Okay. Prior to voting on this, can I get a motion so we can accept this, so we can discuss it, please? May I get a motion on it?
So moved, Byron.
We have a motion by Vice President Gunner. May I get a second?
Second, Director Wood.
We have a second by Director Wood. So we have a motion by Vice President Gunner to accept the emergency management report, and then a second by Director Wood. Okay, let's open the floor for discussion. Any questions for the GM regarding the report? Go ahead, Jamie.
Just for the
a question. It's more of my observation. I believe they're meeting on a quarterly basis from representatives from all the neighboring agencies. They are working on generating a contact list for all utilities in the Antelope Valley. Also, they're working on scenario-based trainings that they run through at different meetings so that people can be aware. And then also an equipment list. They're working on equipment list stuff. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah. To just add to it, we had an emergency prep meeting Monday, and we talked about this, as far as information that's contained in this and how they could work within the region. And Director Wood also brought up, Director Wood brought up information about training. They're having scenario-based training for the district and the other agencies out there so that they would be prepared. And we also talked about community awareness. Steve's going to look to get some information from the Office of Emergency Services for the state of California to see what other resources we can bring to help the community. I know a few folks are talking about to help the municipal agencies, but I look at it as a twin fold to help both the agencies keep things going and to keep the community prepared. So it looks like things are coming together, and I appreciate your efforts, Steve. Then I know you've been attending those meetings, and I appreciate your effort there also. Any more discussion before we vote on this?
Yeah, I just want to, kind of highlight on this. This was a thing that we tasked Steve, our general manager, with a couple of years ago to start putting together a mutual response program and to interact with other agencies. And this is a fruition of everybody working together to where, if in case of an emergency, we can render aid to other agencies, and they can turn around and do the same to us during an earthquake or whatever might happen with equipment and personnel and things of that nature. So it's still got a long ways to go to get all the language worked out, but I just want to take my hat off to Steve for sticking to this and keeping this thing moving along and to keep our agency involved in this loop. Thank you, Steve.
I want to thank you for the compliment, but I've got to say that our staff actually stayed on top of this on my behalf, and I on your behalf, and you on the community's behalf. So my hat's off to the staff. Brock had shepherded this for much of the time. John took it over, and I'm extremely pleased with the work that they did and brought forward as a member of the group.
Any other director's comments? Okay, so we have the motion. We have the second. Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Yes. President Rick Webb.
Yes.
Vice President Byron Glennon.
Yes.
Director Ben Stewart.
Yes.
Director Alfred Wallace.
Yes.
Director Greg Wood.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
The record showed there was a 5-0 approval of the emergency management plan. Going down to presentations, and we have R1, it's a water reclamation plant update, and Ron Becker, the senior wastewater treatment plant operator. Ron, are you on the line? Are you present? You have the floor, sir.
All right. Good evening, everyone. First off, I'd like to apologize for not being able to be there in person. Football season for my son is wrapping up, so I'm an assistant coach on the team, so that's where I've been lately. In regards to the wastewater plant, the last time I spoke to you, I informed you that there was some very few but very critical issues that needed to be resolved. And last we spoke, I'd like to tie in that with the help of Kennedy Jinks and also John Houghton. One of the critical parts is providing utility water to the facility. That was wrapped up and finalized. And more importantly, the dissolved oxygen, which is the critical part of the nitrification, denitrification process. We had gentlemen from Parkson out there on site since last I've seen you, and they identified some motherboards, if you will, that help with the communication between device to device that have faulted. In today's day and time, acquiring parts has been difficult. The parts were ordered to resolve the problem last week, and the parts should be delivered on site to the facility by the end of this week. And we do have a tentative schedule for the parts and employees, as well as Kennedy Jinx, to return hopefully Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, and finalize the dissolved air and the SCFM flow meter issues so we can get our dissolved oxygen dialed in. Once we resolve that, we can start the nitrification and denitrification process, which is currently the only thing holding us up from meeting all the effluent limitations set by the state Lahontan board. From there, we have very minor things, fencing, some leaks, things of that nature that have to be resolved. But as far as the heart of the plant, once we can get these final issues resolved, that will take care of it. And like I said, from there, it's just some minor tidying up things as fencing around certain areas, things of that nature. We are very close to the checker flag. You can see it. And we are coming upon it rather quickly. Our MLSS is growing. We were up at about 2,400 milligrams per liter as of today. And our target goal is from 3,000 to 35. So we are very rapidly approaching that. And it may seem like it's been a long time coming, but we are now almost there. Some very few but very critical pieces have to line up, and hopefully that will be resolved next week. And from there, it will not be very long till we are meeting the state guidelines set by the Lahontan Regional Board.
Well, thank you on that, Ryan. Any directors have questions for Ryan there?
Yeah, I have a question, but it's more for Steve. I heard Ryan mention something in there, and it's just, this crazy supply chain issues just doesn't seem like it's ever going to go away, at least not anytime soon. Is there room in our budget, Steve, that, even though we don't need the parts right now, to get a healthy redundancy of parts in that, we may not need them for another 8 months or a year, but maybe just order them now if we can do it in our budget, just because of the supply chain, not being able to get the parts for several months after we order it, maybe just to kind of protect ourselves that if components or circuit boards, things like that go down, that we've got them on hand to keep the plant up and running, in case something does happen.
Funny you mentioned that. I was out at the plant yesterday, walking the plant with Ryan, and Ryan has a plan, and he is looking at those very things to start preparing for that. As far as the budget right now, it's going to be real difficult to really start purchasing what we will need in the future, or what we think we might need, or having a couple on hand so we don't go down. But knowing that, we are preparing for the next budget cycle. At least Ryan is preparing those things that he sees that we should have stocked, and to alleviate a big problem like you brought up.
Right.
That's on the forefront of our discussions, and will be part of our budget discussion in the next go-round.
Kind of wondering, because, this is so foreign to all of us. You know, you used to be able to, you know, even for difficult parts, you know, you used to be able to order it and have it here in 30 days or 2 weeks or whatever. But usually you could have something within shipped overnight or having it, you know, in a couple of days' time. But this supply chain thing, that's what everybody's, you know, talking about. And, you know, maybe explore the possibility, if we have to, is to maybe use some of our reserves and bring it back to the board and see if we can, you know, maybe take a little bit of money out of there just to make sure that, you know, we've got our bases covered in case something breaks and then all of a sudden the plant's down for 3 months because we're waiting for a part that we can't seem to get.
Well, it's definitely on the forefront of our thought process because you see how difficult it is to balance the biological operation of that plant to make it operate properly. And because of that, that puts this discussion on the forefront also.
Right.
So I just got to say, I was impressed that Ryan had, and we had discussed it, in fact, in regard to the biolac, letting that biolac go down in a couple of those air chains and stuff, and you could be in trouble if you didn't have parts to fix that.
Right.
So,
and that's the thing. And you know, I just want to say to you and Ryan and Stad, you guys are doing a great job. I mean, this startup process, it's nothing new, but everybody appreciates the fact that once you get it dialed in and it's humming along, you know, we don't want any hiccups, and if we do, we want to be able to get everything back up and running as quickly as possible and not have to wait a long time for parts. So
now that you mentioned that, you know, you get it up and running, everything's running along real good, and all of a sudden you get a big old slug of grease coming in, and or some foreign material coming in, and it can shut your plant down and kill your bugs. And people will, in the future, start hearing us talking about and seeing people addressing those issues more and more because our plant is very, very sensitive. And if those things aren't addressed, it could shut our plant down. And I don't think people want to really experience that.
no, they don't. And it's like I have said over the years many, many times, it's not a matter of if the plant will go upside down. It's just a matter of when. Something will come through the system and turn it topsy-turvy. But once the startup process is completed and everything is dialed in, Ryan will be able to get things right, get the ship right, and get things humming along pretty easy once it's done, even if the plant does go upside down.
Right.
Well, you know, guys, Ryan is the plant. But I think what speaks volumes about the effort that has gone into getting that plant to where it's at now is that the fact that a few weeks ago that you had them out there doing a documentary on that plant. And like I said, then I'll say it again, for an agency our size to be mentioned in the same breath with the Metropolitan Waters and the DWP type size agencies, I think that itself, that's an accomplishment unto its own. And it didn't happen by mistake, it happened by design. And Rcsd, Kennedy Jinks, and a lot of other talented people helped. But ultimately, that's going to be a direct benefit to this community for years to come. And I think the best part about it, that in years to come, perhaps people be coming out there looking at that, and they'll be the standard for small size, maybe even large size districts to use. So my compliments and thanks across the board to everyone that had even a slight hand in it, because it didn't get done by itself. It got done with effort on the team side of it. So thank everybody involved. Ryan, anything else you have about the plant?
No, sir. That's all I have, and thank you, everyone, for your time.
One compliment. You said you were out there with your son. You'll remember that. So we remember you for working at the plant. We will remember you being out there on that sideline with him. So don't ever give up that, because you can't replace that. We can replace parts at the plant. you can't replace time out there with him. So I think that's another note. So we'll continue now. Let's go down to director's comments, and I'll start with Director Glennon.
In the past month, I represented Rose Community Service Districts at the Aqua in Region 7 guided tour and conference in Central California. And many of the board members were able to attend the Water Smart conference. In referring to my public comment that I made as a member of the community, these educational and collaborative opportunities are invaluable. Thank you for allowing us to attend. Period.
Period.
Let's go on. Hey, was that all you had, Byron?
That's it.
Yeah, let's go on to Director Stewart.
Don't have a lot. I just want to remind people that it's getting colder, so make sure you are insulating your pipes so we don't have any breaks. And then also, you can turn your sprinklers down or completely off. No, don't need to water your grass if you choose to have such.
Absolutely, for the water conservation side. Director Wallace?
I forgot to remind everybody that the Roseman volleyball girls are having a second-round playoff game tomorrow evening here at the gym.
Did they win yesterday?
Yep.
Director Wood?
Yeah, I also went to the conference in Las Vegas, and I enjoyed it. Enjoyed good fellowship with the other board members. But really got some valuable information on the Colorado River. This guy did really a good presentation on it. I believe it's 7 states that's involved in that. And he talked a lot about California, how they was giving up some of their water. But I really enjoyed that talk. So thank you for letting me go.
Okay, Director Wallace. Thank you, sir. Director Wood?
Yes, I attended the conference as well and got a lot of good information and a lot of good ideas that can help our community moving forward. One of the future agenda items that I would like to have is that I think a time has come, even though that we keep discussing the governor's proclamation for remote meetings and things, that, I think it's time to start at least having the discussion with the board to get some kind of a timeline of when we're going to open our boardroom back up to the public and kind of getting back to normal here at the agency. And
Good thought.
so I'm figuring that, at least have it on the agenda so we can discuss it and kind of see how we move forward from this point. All the directors except for our president who's in training are here, plus staff is here, and so I think, if we're not quite ready, that's fine, but I think we need to at least have the discussion to get some kind of a timeline in place to get this agency back to normal. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Greg. The things I'd like to bring up is that we had talked at one of our committee meetings, and it's being looked at, but one of the things that we'd like to do is get the community involved with some of our conservation needs and perhaps work on bringing some vendors into the community to help the community with some of the things that the district may not be able to be all responsible for or all knowing with. So I think one of the things I picked up at the conference is that community involvement becomes the cornerstone of a lot that gets done. And my hope is that we can look towards that and get the community more involved in, things that they can use, because the district does a lot. But the district can't grip, perhaps looking at perhaps information that they can help within the community, that they can help to educate the community about different subjects. So that's one of the things I would like us to focus on and look at. because one thing that conference did show me is that once you tap into certain resources, it's kind of like a floodgate opens up to additional resources. So with that, let's go down to the General Counsel update. John Comar, you have anything for us, sir?
Not tonight.
Okay. Down with the General Manager's update. Steve Perez, you have the floor, sir.
Yes, I have one thing, and I'll be reporting on it later. I think John Comar is going to research that on my behalf. I've asked him to look at the new laws in regard to our meetings and how we implement them, because there's a couple of timelines that are involved at the first of the year. We changed from making a finding, and then it disappears altogether in a couple of years. But we need to look at that to see exactly what rules under the Brown Act we are following now that COVID is over and or seems to be over, the emergency, and start getting back into a normal activity in our meetings in our district. So I'll be bringing
and Steve, we're looking at that for you.
Thank you. Pardon me.
I say we're looking at that for you, and should have something to you relatively shortly. The good news is I don't think the state of emergency expires until February 23rd, so the next year. So there's some time here to make sure that we get the procedures nailed exactly right.
Great.
Hey, Steve.
Thank you very much.
Steve, can I ask you a question? I know it's gotten a little late in the season, and I know we can't have audiences, but does anything preclude us from we can't have, we still, based on the emergency order, we still can't have no audience in the boardroom at all?
Well, I think based on what we're seeing right now, that is why we're making the finding. The protection of the board members as well as the community alike. When we open up the doors, it's kind of hard to meter and keep only 6 feet apart and only let 10 people in when you have maybe 20 people that want to come in. So I think once the emergency is lifted by the governor, then we can feel comfortable that they feel that we can do it safely for the community as well as the board members. In our board chamber, as we see right now, thank you for being gone, Rick, but there's a plenty gap between the board members on the dais, and so we're pretty well spaced apart here in our chamber right now.
Steve, I got a question as far as, moving forward, and maybe John can look at this and see how, if it's something we can do to where maybe we can permanently set up a deal where we can have remote, for the public can call in and listen to the meeting and participate, and then those that want to come in person can come in person, to where, if a lot of people that aren't comfortable with coming to a public meeting yet, or may never be comfortable coming to a public meeting, I don't know, that they can still call in, but yet you would be able to have people in the boardroom. I don't know if it's.
I think it's proper, and I think it's allowable. We can allow people from the public to call into a meeting and basically take questions. We could have the agenda reflect any questions or comments. Normally is what we do. However, if there's an item currently, we go and we ask for public comment on that, and that could happen. So what it would do, if people are still a little bit unsure, definitely, but we could formalize that to go out to the community to see if there's any comments on any particular item, and but we do that under the public comment. But the public comment period does not specifically address an item on the agenda. We address we just received from the Special Districts Risk Management Authority a letter of congratulations under the Property Liability Program, that the district has gone 5 years now with no paid liability claims for the district. What that means is our experience for a 5-year period earns us a credit, and that credit equates to a drop in our premium for the insurance. And we've entered into this. It is addressed to Director Wood in regard to the program, and they wanted to congratulate the dedicated efforts of the Roseman Community Service District governing body, management, and staff towards proactive risk management and loss prevention training for earning the President's Special Acknowledgement Award. The award is to recognize members with no paid claims during the prior 5 consecutive program years in the property liability program. So it just saves the district money on our premiums, and it was a shock that we received this letter.
Well, that's good. Hey, Steve, can we put that on the website? Share that with the community, because maybe everyone's not listening to the meeting. Would that be possible? Put that on the website and share that good news with the community?
Yeah, what we may do is if we put it on the website, we'll put it on for a short time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then and pull it off.
Yeah, just a summary.
Capacity.
Yeah, just maybe a summary of, summarize it or whatnot, because I think that'd be good news, because that's you folks working hard at it, but that's everyone kind of doing a little bit part, and I'd like to share that really good news with the community safe.
Okay. All right.
That's complete your report, Steve?
That completes my report for tonight.
Okay, we have the Director of Administration update. Sherry, are you there?
Yes, I am. Yes, thank you. Just reporting that we are in the final stretch of our billing conversion. Things are going rather well, I'm pleased to announce. We are in the final phase where we will do parallel with our billing. So that may be a little tricky because we may have some exceptions that we weren't planning on, but that will be the final hurdle. Once we can get that all matched up and the system's matched, then we will relinquish the old system and switch to the new system. So very happy things are going well. That's the end of my report.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Sherry, directors? Let's go down to Public Works update. John Houghton. John, you there?
There's no update for this evening under Public Works.
Okay.
Before we close, Rick, there's 2 items or comments I want to make before our next board meeting. Be sure on the 6th to turn your clock back, and be sure on the 8th to go vote.
Yeah, you're right. The line does go back. You're right there. And just one thing in closing to share with everyone. My daughter had beautiful twin daughters, and you don't really know happy until you see all your kids there, plus 2. So anyway, so we'll close on that happy note. Can I get a motion on adjournment?
Hey, before we close, as a grandfather, I want the names and the weight and the length.
You will have it at the next meeting, because if I get outside for the winter.
Hey, Rick, we should also make notice that Halloween is coming up, and everybody please be careful, them little ones out there, and watch out for all the trick-or-treaters.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's stay well. Let's keep them well. And with that, it's 6:41. Can I get a motion for an adjournment? Who have the motion? Director Stewart, can I get a second?
Second, Director Glennon.
Make sure we have a second by Director Stewart, a second by Vice President Glennon. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Yes. President Rick Webb,
Yes.
Vice President Byron Glennon,
Yes.
Director Ben Stewart,
Yes.
Director Alfred Wallace,
Yes.
Director Greg Wood.
Yes.
Motion passed 5-0.
We still got the 5-0 for the adjournment at 6:42. Good night, all. Stay well.